Kawaka Bugi Nantope Milewa Yami Kunde Mape Taki Kolo Kotu Cheke Song de Gambe Namshi Kando Shuye Kawaka Bugi Nantope Milewa Yami Kunde Mape Taki Kolo Kotu Cheke Song de Gambe Namshi
Half of Northeast India Tibetan movement, express my deep gratitude to each and every one of you to have joined us today here in solemn remembrance of Pao Logarangsen. The word Pao means martyr in our language. In remembrance of Pao Logarangsen, whose final act of protest, that self-immolation, has once again compelled the world to confront the realities of Tibetan people. So on the dais, I would like to introduce Mr. Yulu Yamze. He is the secretary of this movement. Then Mrs. Siring Dolma, former member of Parliament, Tibetan government exile. Then Ms. Tenzin Salmo, our media coordinator, and myself, Mrs. Yamchin Dolma. I am also the former member of Parliament, Tibetan government exile. We came here today to honor and pay homage to Pao Logarangsen, to remember a fellow Tibetan, a fellow human being, and to reflect on the profound questions that his final protest sought to raise before the international community. Pao Logarangsen carried out his protest on second ethnic unity and progress law, which was implemented on 1st July. Critics of this law, including many Tibetans and international observers, shows concern in this implementation as this may accelerate the policies affecting the preservation of our unique language, identity and culture. Pao Logarangsen's action reflects deep concern of every Tibetan regarding the future of our heritage and identity. For Tibetans, it's not only politics, but it's about the survival of our ancient civilization. It's about the preservation of our rich heritage, culture, language. It's about protecting rich tradition that has contributed to humanity. And it's about safeguarding the fragile environment that sustains nearly 2 billion people across Asia. Today, as we remember Pao Logarangsen, we also remember many Tibetan martyrs who have sacrificed their life in the ongoing struggle for Tibet. So we honor them with dignity and reaffirm our non-violent advocacy toward peaceful dialogue, truth and non-violent ways. Some may ask, why should we get here? And the answer is historical and contemporary. For centuries old, Tibet has served as natural, civilizational and geographical bridge between India and Central Asia. The tradition and spiritual relationship between India and Tibet is times immemorial. Tibet has ensured the preservation of countless Buddhist texts, philosophies and tradition that has originated from India itself. Today, India remains home to Tibetan exile community and India has provided a place where Tibetan language, religion and culture continue to flourish. This generosity reflects India's enduring civilizational values of compassion, pluralism and freedom of belief. However, Tibet's importance extends far beyond history and culture. It directly affects India's environmental and strategic interests. The Tibetan plateau known as the third pole, is the source of many Asia's great rivers, including our Brahmaputra, known as Yadam in Tibet. So for the people of Northeast India, this matter is not an abstract geopolitics, but this matter is deeply personal. The mighty Brahmaputra is lifeline of Arunachal Pradesh and Assam. It nourishes our farms, sustains our fisheries, supports our biodiversity and shapes the livelihood of many millions of people here before entering into Bangladesh. Any significant alteration in the upper streams will have a devastating effect downstream in the catchment areas. So these issues requires continued scientific study, transparency and dialogues among all riparian nations. Therefore, we say Tibet matters. It's not only a slogan, but Tibet matters because it is the source of Asia's rivers. Tibet matters because it influences the climate of Himalayas. Tibet matters because its biodiversity is part of our shared natural heritage. And Tibet matters because the peace and tranquility in the Tibetan plateau have implications for the security, environmental and future of the entire region, including Northeast India. Friends, our purpose today is not to sow hatred or division, but our purpose is to encourage informed discussion, to remember those who sacrificed their lives for the cause of Tibet, and to call upon the governments, international communities, scholars, environmental experts and civil societies to continue to engage with issues concerning Tibet through peaceful dialogue, respect for human dignity and adherence to international norms. So Paul Ramzan's act reflects his conviction that the world should not forget Tibet. I would like to also add upon here that we Tibetans stand in solidarity with all those family members who have lost their near and dear ones in this natural calamity of flood. We shall pray for them deep-heartedly. I would also like to mention here that as I entered the premises of this press club, seeing the big life-size flex of Zubinda made me really emotional. I can recall that he has been our very beloved friend who has always supported Tibetan cause. He has attended many of our protests earlier in Guwahati and many cultural programs in Guwahati and Shillong as well. So Zubinda, wherever you are, you will be truly missed by us. With this, I thank all of you for your presence here and commitment to informing the public with fairness and accuracy. May today's press conference contribute to the greater awareness, thoughtful dialogue, and deeper understanding why Tibet matters, not only to Tibetans, but to Indians, to Northeast India, and to the wider world. Thank you each and every one of you once again for your presence here and kind attention. Tashi Devi.
Thank you very much, Angelina. So now I would like to request Madam Sari Burma to give the press प्रतिनिधि in Hindi.
सभी को नमस्कार और मैंने हिंदी में ये प्रेस कॉन्फ्रेंस करने के लिए उत्साहित थी क्योंकि जैसे कि हम भारत में पैदा हुए हैं और भारत में ही हम जन्मे हैं, भारत में ही हमारा शिक्षा हुआ और अभी हम भारत स्वतंत्र देश है, इसीलिए हमें आज के प्रेस कॉन्फ्रेंस का भी पूरे दिल से हम बात कर सकते हैं। इसीलिए पहले तो मैं भारत सरकार को धन्यवाद देना चाहती हूँ। नमस्कार सम्मानित मीडिया तथा उपस्थित सभी साथियों, आज हम अत्यंत गहरे दुख और भरी मन के साथ यहाँ एकत्रित हुए हैं हम तिब्बती स्वतंत्र आंदोलन में समर्पित कार्यकर्ता डॉक्टर राम सिंह जी, जिनका फोटो पीछे लगा हुआ है, को श्रद्धांजलि अर्पित करते हैं। और आज का ये प्रेस किसी हिंसा का समर्थन करने के लिए नहीं है, बल्कि तिब्बती लोगों की पीड़ा, उनकी आवाज़ और न्याय, मानवाधिकार तथा सम्मानजनक संवाद का आवश्यकता की दुनिया के सामने रखने के लिए है। इसी भावना के साथ मैं अपना विषय प्रस्तुत करती हूँ। जैसे कि आप सब जानते हैं कि चीन में चीनी सरकार ने जातीय एकता और प्रगति के बढ़ावा देने वाला एक कानून अभी हाल ही में उन्होंने प्रस्तुत किया है, जिसको अंग्रेजी में कहा जाता है लॉ ऑन पर्सनैलिटी प्रोमोटिंग एथनिक यूनिटी एंड प्रोग्रेस। 1 जुलाई 226 से चीनी सरकार ने ये लागू हुआ है। ये कानून देश के सभी जातीय समूह के बीच एक समान चीनी बनाने पर जोर देता है। और हाल ही में जबकि ये कानून लागू हुआ, उसके दूसरे ही दिन 2 जुलाई 226 को हमारे एक तिब्बती भाई जो अमेरिका में रहते हैं, उन्होंने यूनाइटेड नेशन हेडक्वार्टर न्यूयॉर्क के ठीक सामने अपने आप को आत्मदाह कर दिया। आश्चर्यजनक की बात यह है, जिस देश को, जिसे अंग्रेजी में कहा जाता है अमेरिका इज another name of opportunity, अमेरिका अवसर का दूसरा नाम है। फिर आपके मन में ये शक आ सकता है, आपके मन में ये विचार आ सकता है कि अगर अमेरिका अपॉर्चुनिटी लैंड है तो डॉक्टर रामसिंह जी ने इतनी बड़ी कदम किस लिए उठाया? ये सवाल आपके मन में आ सकता है। ये नहीं कि उनके पास खाने के लिए कुछ नहीं था, न पहनने के लिए कुछ था, न सर पे उनके बैठने के लिए घर था। उनके पास सब कुछ था, जबकि वो अमेरिका में है। सब कुछ था उनके पास, जो नहीं था वो था स्वतंत्र, फ्रीडम, इंडिपेंडेंस, तिब्बती का स्वतंत्र, तिब्बत की आज़ादी, तिब्बत में हो रहा अत्याचार, तिब्बत की संस्कृति, धर्म, भाषा पर चीनी सरकार की गंदी नीति, जो अब एक कानून में तब्दील किया गया है एथनिक यूनिटी लॉ के नाम पर। उन्होंने आत्मदाह करने से पहले एक वीडियो क्लिप जारी किया था, जिसमें उन्होंने साफ शब्दों में कहा है कि अगर उन्होंने आज एक ठोस कदम उठाया तो ये नहीं कि मेरे पास खाने के लिए नहीं है, मैं भूखा मर रहा हूँ, ना मेरे पास सोने के लिए जगह है, बल्कि इसलिए मैं ये कदम इसीलिए उठा रहा हूँ क्योंकि तिब्बत के लिए, तिब्बत की आज़ादी के लिए, तिब्बत के लोगों के लिए। मैं थोड़ा वो हो जाती हूँ, थोड़ा सेंसिटिव हो जाती हूँ, उसके लिए क्षमा करना। अगर हम कुछ, और उन्होंने कहा है अगर हम तिब्बती और जो भी तिब्बत के बारे में सोचते हैं, अगर हम कुछ न करें, ऐसे ही बैठे रहे, तो हम कुछ भी हासिल नहीं कर पाएंगे। और हमारे भाई बहन जो भारत और विदेश में है, उन्हें जोर लगाना पड़ेगा। अभी तिब्बत में जो भी चीन अत्याचार कर रहे हैं वो इसीलिए हुआ और तब शुरुआत हुआ जब हमने आज़ादी खो दी थी। इसीलिए आज से हम सभी ऊपर तिब्बती सरकार से लेके हर तिब्बती नागरिक तिब्बती के स्वतंत्र के लिए काम करें। कई लोग ये कहते हैं कि हमारे पास स्वतंत्र नहीं है, ये कहना गलत होगा, क्योंकि हमारे पास स्वतंत्र था, जो हमारे से हमसे चीनी ने छीन लिया गया। अब सब एकजुट होकर तिब्बत की आज़ादी के लिए संगठन करें। मैं हाथ जोड़ के विनती कर रहा हूँ। ये जो मैंने अभी पढ़ा है वो वैसे हम लोग की तिब्बती भाषा में वीडियो क्लिप था, जिसको मैंने हिंदी में ट्रांसलेट किया हुआ है। तो आप इसी वीडियो क्लिप के, जबकि इन्होंने डॉक्टर रामसिंह जी ने जो कहा है, उससे आपको ये बहुत ही आसानी से पता चल जाता है कि उन्होंने अपने आप को जलाया क्यों। क्योंकि यूनाइटेड नेशन हेडक्वार्टर के सामने उन्होंने जलाया, तो उसके पीछे का कारण है जनरेशन अब बहरे हो गए हैं, वो सुन के भी अनसुनी कर रहे हैं। इसीलिए लोका रामजिन जी ने तिब्बत में हो रहा चीनी का बर्ताव, जो कि नर्क से भी तुलना कर सकते हैं। और आज हम यहाँ पे आए हैं, हम शिलांग के तिब्बतवासी तिब्बत के मुद्दा को नजर, यही आप लोगों से सबक कहना चाहते हैं कि तिब्बत के मुद्दा को नजरअंदाज ना करें। और भारत सरकार जब भी चीनी सरकार से मिले हैं, तिब्बत के पक्ष में बात करें। और हम यूनाइटेड नेशन से भी अपील करते हैं कि लोका रामजिन जी की आखिरी इच्छा को साकार करने में हमारी मदद करें। और आज विशेष रूप से मैं हर एक संचार माध्यम से हाथ जोड़ के निवेदन करना चाहूँगी कि वे अपनी मीडिया के माध्यम से हमारे संदेश को राष्ट्रीय और अंतर्राष्ट्रीय में पहुँचाइए। हो सके तो श्री मोदी जी भी इस बारे में 2 शब्द कहे भी हमारे लिए बहुत ही सौभाग्य होगा। तो अंत में बढ़ावा देने वाला कानून को हम निंदा करते हैं और विरोध करते हैं। जय भारत, जय तिब्बत।
She herself is from the background of journalism, and she will be the right person to highlight about the so-called Chinese ethnic unity and progressive law. So I will request this Sangwon to say a few words on Chinese so-called ethnic law.
Hi everyone, good afternoon. Thank you for coming here. We know what Assam is dealing with right now, the disastrous flood, and our solidarity is with all the victims of the displacement that has occurred. My name is Tenzin Samo. I am a second-generation Tibetan woman born and raised in India, and in a position today to raise voice for Tibetan freedom and advocate for human rights, which is afforded by the Constitution of India, the space that India has created for Tibetans. So we are eternally grateful for that. This is exactly what we are here today for the lack of the human rights that is persisting in Tibet, and the atrocious level of the repression, which has come very close home for India as well. So I would like to elaborate on the law on promoting ethnic unity and progress. So this particular law, which we consider to be the immediate the trigger for the self-immolation of Tibetan activist Loka Ramzin outside the UN headquarters in New York City on July 2nd, a day after this law went into force. It's called Law on Promoting Ethnic Unity and Progress. It was adopted by the National People's Congress in March and enforced on July 1st, the founding day of the Chinese Communist Party. And this law is damning for Tibetans, Uyghurs, and Mongolians, for, in other words, all the persecuted groups under the Chinese rule right now. And Tibetans have been protesting for several months now, and which culminated in the self-immolation of Loka Ramzin. And the law, the law is damning because it formalizes a shift that has been underway for 2 decades. And that shift is in the Chinese governance style when it comes to minoritized persecuted groups, which they like to call ethnic groups, or So since 1984, it has been guided by a law on ethnic regional autonomy, which gives some relative autonomy to these regions. And then it changed a great deal in the early 2000s, especially after the 2008 pan-Tibet protest against the Beijing Olympics, when Tibetans tried to draw the world's attention to the human rights violation taking place in Tibet and the ongoing occupation of Tibet. And when the Xi Jinping came to power in 2012, he doubled down. And since then, that policy of regional autonomy has shifted to what the Chinese call second-generation ethnic policy, which is characterized by an aggressive assimilationist policy. So what the law essentially is codification, legislating of that aggressive policy. And by unity It is the unity, the word unity here is a euphemism for assimilation and domination by the dominant Han Chinese race. So what this law requires is that all the persecuted groups, including Tibetans, Uyghurs, and Mongolian, identify as Chinese, and also endorse the version of history as is being propagated by the Chinese party state, and also sense of culture of being Chinese people. Can you imagine the absurdity, right? And also culturally or linguistically as a people, and it went as far as enforcing sense of consciousness. So even my consciousness and sense of being should be Chinese. So this is the scale of overreach of the Chinese party state that is currently ruling over Tibet politically. And I would like to point out some of the provisions of the law, which is especially alarming. One is Article 15. It requires that Mandarin be made compulsory at all levels of schooling, and there will be zero tolerance against individual and organization obstructing it. Meaning, use of Tibetan language will be criminalized sweepingly. It has been criminalized so far, but including closure of Tibetan private schools and any schools that try to teach Tibetan language and culture. So this is very damning because for a nation and a culture, languages is critical cultural marker. And Article 17 also stands out because it tries to establish China's own system of historical data, discourse and theory of Chinese people, how we came about, how we all, same people belonging to the great nation of China, and all of those lines, right? So they need the state to establish that kind of system. And Article 19 targets the media. It targets TV, radio, newspapers, any publications, online platforms. They are required, to promote ethnic unity in any efforts, kind of an act like, governments AI to accomplish the goals. And Article 20 needs all the level of government to forge Chinese sense of family, community at the family levels. So for the Tibetans, family and some cultural spaces has been the space where we can still resist. If they wouldn't allow us to learn Tibetan in school, we would try to teach at home. But now that is also infiltrated. Parents are required to teach Mandarin. Parents are required to not speak in English. So that is the level of how extension of how far this law infringes on people's rights. Article 39 is should be of concern to India because it says the people's government at various levels in the border region are required to advance and enhance infrastructural development for stability. As you would have known, China has been using construction in the border regions to establish border villages, including bringing people from other places to, incentivizing them to settle in the border areas for two dual purpose, which is what is infrastructural development, other is securitization of the border. What they do is, as they encroach into India, they would cement that by building a whole village there, including airport and school and whatnot, so that over time, it gets, they accrue more land. Article 46 is very concerning for the religious communities because it requires that the religious community themselves synthesize the religion to serve the purpose of ethnic unity. And it also requires tweaking the religious scriptures to serve the socialist goals. Socialism with Chinese characteristics. So I hope you all know that China is not really socialist or communist as they claim, or a wholesome democracy, or whatever or when they say they have eradicated poverty. I hope all of you know better than to trust that, to know that if the fake products come from China, the propaganda is definitely about to be fake also, right? And Article 63 has been pointed out specifically by the analysts and researchers and scholars to be very concerning globally because It exercises extraterritorial jurisdiction, requiring that anyone supporting, including you guys, individual and organization, talking about Tibetan freedom, human rights, and religious rights, to be held responsible, and if possible, to be held responsible legally. So this is just the gist of what is underway right now, which is one symbol of the unfolding crisis in Tibet. And if you have questions on this or any other law and general governance in Tibet and what is going on, I will be happy to answer that. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Samula. Yangtze River is a Brahmaputra river. When it is in Tibet, we call it Tibetan, it's called the Yangtze River. On this same region, the Chinese government is making a very, very big dam. This river is known as a Brahmaputra when it enters India, and it's one of the most important lifelines of the people of Arunachal Pradesh, Assam, and our neighboring country, Bangladesh. If completed, the Meto project is expected to be the world's largest hydropower project. While every nation has a right to pursue development project of this scale on the international river rights, important question about environmental sustainability, water security, and the regional cooperation. For Northeast India, the Brahmaputra is far more than a river. It is supports of agriculture, fisheries, transportation, biodiversity, and the livelihoods of millions of people. And the significant alternation in the natural flow of sediment could have long-term consequences for the regional ecology and economy. So when they build this river, it can impact Assam, Arunachal Pradesh, and our neighboring Bangladesh also. And when it impact means it will impact lots of pharma, agriculture sector, fishery sectors, and many things. So water should never become as a source of conflict. It should be a breach of a cooperation, trust, and shared responsibility among neighboring countries. Open dialogue, information sharing, and respect for international norms and essentials for protecting both people and their environment. Let us work together to safeguard the Brahmaputra. Let us work together to safeguard the Brahmaputra. Preserve the fragile Himalayan ecosystems and ensure that development benefits without comprehension the rights and security of future generations. So this is, I just wanted to highlight it. So on behalf of our committee, so I would like to thank all the media people who have today come here regardless of their busy schedule, and at the same time I would like to thank everybody and my whole team and our whole Tibetan community throughout the world. Solidarity is with people who has lost their life and affected with this recent flood. So due to this reason only, actually we were supposed to have one Dhana at the Dhana Sthal today, but since state has such a big calamities, so we will continue this today. So within next 2 weeks, we will definitely try to hold a Dhana in the Dhana Sthal with our members from Nagaland, Arunachal Pradesh, Shillong. So whenever these things will be dates are finalized, we will definitely inform all the media concerned people. So thank you very much for coming here. So if you have any questions to all of any members, please kindly. And before that, I would like to say that the martyr, Paul Ramjan, this fellow, so he has self-immolated in New York City. He's born in Tibet, came to India, rise up in India, and then he went to United States, and he's as Madam Singh and both of them have told that he's very much jolly person, stable mindset people, but due to Chinese so-called this Chinese ethnic unity and progressive law, he has sacrificed his life for the cause of Tibet
and the freedom of Tibet. So we just want to say that we don't accept this Chinese so-called law, and we will not obey with this law, and we will not condemn this law. So we condemn all of them.
老乡。